Ramadan Kareem, everyone. Today we're going to make some halal beef biryani. We're going to start by soaking 3 cups of basmati rice for about 2 hours. And while we mix that rice up, why don't you hit like and subscribe so you never miss one of our great halal recipes. Now we'll prep our potatoes, onions, tomatoes, and a green chili. We'll start by chopping up the potatoes. I quartered these, then cut them into large cubes because I like my potatoes really thick. Then we'll slice off the top of a green chili. We used a jalapeno. I didn't want this biryani to be very spicy, so I cut it in half and removed the seeds. Next, we'll dice 5 tomatoes into small pieces. Some people don't like using serrated blades for cutting tomatoes, but in my experience, a regular knife that hasn't been sharpened can squash the tomato and make a big mess. Finally, we'll thinly slice 2 yellow onions. Make sure to let the potatoes rest in the water so they don't discolor, then we'll set all those vegetables aside to prepare our garlic paste. To make that, we'll start by processing 4 small to medium cloves of garlic with a 2-inch piece of ginger until very fine. I then used a mortar and pestle to crush it into a paste, but if you have a spice grinder, I'd recommend using that instead. Next, we'll combine a half a cup of yogurt, 1 teaspoon of mace, 1 star anise, a cinnamon stick, 4 cloves, 4 green cardamom pods, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of turmeric, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 2 bay leaves. Then we finished it with salt and pepper to taste. We used about 2 teaspoons or so. Then we'll give that a good whisking, cover it, and set it aside for now. Now we'll heat a cup of neutral oil over medium heat and begin frying the onion. I use peanut oil for this because the smell isn't as strong as canola or vegetable, but either of those oils will work as well. We'll stir that constantly to make sure that our onions aren't burning. Once those are golden brown, we'll pull out about half of those onions and let them rest on a paper towel lined baking sheet. Make sure to spread them thinly, this will help them crisp up nicely. While they're hot, I also suggest hitting them with a little bit of salt. Now we'll add 2 pounds of cubed halal beef chuck roast from the link in the description along with our garlic paste. We want to stir fry that for a little bit until the beef is good and browned on all the sides. Next we'll lower the heat to medium-low, add in our tomatoes, then cover and simmer for 1.5 to 2 hours or until the tomato is reduced into a thick paste. Make sure to check this every so often just to make sure it doesn't burn. Meanwhile, we'll prepare our rice. We'll cook this in boiling water until the rice is softened slightly but is still hard in the center. We cooked ours for about 6 to 7 minutes, but I think I may have overcooked it a bit. I'd recommend doing 4 to 5 minutes instead. I used my hands to see how hard the rice was, but unless you're going to use gloves, don't do this. Use a spoon instead. Now that our tomato has reduced, we'll add in the seasoned yogurt and give that a mixing until everything is combined. We want to make sure that the seasonings are fully incorporated into the tomato paste to make a nice sauce. Once that's mixed, we'll add in the potatoes. Make sure to mix these in well so that all of the potatoes get covered in our seasonings. We want them to be seasoned while they're still firm. Then we'll cover and cook for 15 minutes or until they just start to soften. Once that's had time to cook, we'll mix in a 1/4 cup of cilantro along with our green chili, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and salt to taste. Then we'll give that a thorough mixing. Don't worry about the raw ingredients we just added. Those will get fully cooked in the next step. It may seem counterintuitive, but we're going to pour our beef mixture into a large mixing bowl. Then we'll add a 1/4 cup of water and half of our rice to the Dutch oven. This will impart some of those flavors of what we've cooked into our rice. Spread that evenly on the bottom layer and then add the potato mixture. Make sure to spread this so the rice is completely covered with the beef. Then salt to taste if desired. Finally, we'll lay out the remainder of the rice and spread evenly across the top. Don't worry if any of the sauce gets on the rice. Now we'll top it with all of those good crispy onions that we salted up earlier. After all that is completed, we'll finish this dish by placing aluminum foil over the top of the pot, covering with the lid, and cooking over low until the rice is done and the potatoes are tender. This can vary, but I recommend 45 minutes or so, but be sure to check it every 15 minutes just to be safe. Once the rice is done, we'll mix it all together and serve it with some naan bread from the link in the description below. And that's it for this week. Inshallah, Ramadan has been good for everyone. We here at Midamar would like to wish an early Eid Mubarak, and we'll see you next week for another great halal recipe.